Welcome to the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, marketing consultant for female founders and creator of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. I've helped dozens of women grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and beyond, helping founders like you to implement my proven growth system that focuses on brand communication, marketing strategy, building your lean team, and leadership. On this podcast, we talk all about what it takes to get to the next level in marketing and in life, focusing on practical, tactical advice that will help you grow your business and explode your revenue. Are you ready to learn? Let's dive in. If someone doesn't know about your business, how can they buy from you? Brand awareness is so much more than just a marketing thing. Brand awareness is a real revenue driver and something that you, as the CEO, the leader, the founder of your business, should be worried about. Thinking, do enough people know about my business and what I do and how I serve them? Because the reality is that the reason why you're not getting to the revenue goals that you so desire and need for your business could be kind of connected directly to how many people are you actually getting in front of, right? What audience out there is even understanding that your business and service exists? This is what brand awareness is all about. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. How do we create a strategy that is always running each and every day, week, month, and year to get in front of brand new people and just tell them that you exist? Tell them what you do and how you serve them. We need to have strategies always running, and it's oftentimes the difference between failure and success. So the awareness phase is the first stage in the 24/7 marketing flywheel. The 24/7 marketing flywheel, which if you go back to episode 200, I break down in a really good overview, the 6 stages of the flywheel. And the flywheel's purpose is a framework by which you can follow that helps to find brand new prospects, bring them into your brand's world, then nurture them, get them ready to buy, convert them, and eventually turn them into raving fans. So we have the awareness phase, engage phase, nurture, invite, delight, and advocate. So episode 200 breaks it down for you. However, I do have a free resource if you want to go into deeper depth on the topic. If you go to uglyventures.com/strategy, I lay out all of these steps in depth and give you some actionable guidance on how you can implement these stages in your own business. But let's get to the topic of today, awareness. So if you were to be honest with yourself, do you have a strategy working while you're sleeping that will get your brand, your business in front of brand new prospects? Now, the obvious, answer to the awareness question is ads, right? If you're running ads, that ad is always running day and night, right? You can be sleeping and you can have someone click an ad, go onto your website, buy your thing, book your demo, book a sales call, right? This is the example of an awareness strategy that we want to be churning, right? Always in our business. But what happens if you're not running ads? Now, many of us, it doesn't make sense for our business. It's not part of our larger strategy, or simply we don't want to or can't invest in ads. So what are some other things that we can do to get in front of brand new audiences? Let's look at some of the options. So if we are growing our digital marketing presence, there's really only 3 options we have for awareness. The first is ads, as I mentioned, but I also like to wrap up a cold outbound strategy. I consider that kind of like an ad strategy. A cold outbound strategy could look like a cold email strategy. So you have a company that's running a program for you where you're sending, thousands or tens of thousands of email messages, or this could even be automatic DM strategy, right? This is a strategy where you're getting in front of a large audience of people and you're just introducing yourself and your business and seeing if there's a connection between what you do and what that prospect needs, right? This also can be considered similar to an advertising strategy, in my opinion, how I look at it. Although cold outbound is usually put in the bucket like a sales bucket and kind of lives under the sales department, I sort of think of it as part of the marketing effort as well. So we've got advertising, cold outbound strategy. That's one option for awareness. The next is SEO. Do you have a dialed in, switched on search engine strategy that is really meeting prospects where they are? And when we talk about search engine SEO, this goes well beyond Google or Bing or Yahoo.com, right? This could also mean nowadays AI platforms. This could also mean social media. We have to think of all of these different modalities as search engines because they're places where people are entering search queries. And now more than ever, we're turning to AI. So understanding, if your business can show up as a search result for AI, which actually I've had people in my entrepreneur community that have had their businesses come up in AI search results and they don't even know how. So it'd be kind of funny if you have a specific business in a specific location, say, I'm looking for the top, service in this location and see if your business even comes up. Because again, we're still trying to figure out all the mechanics behind what the criteria is for AI to be showing those results, right? But it's something to consider. But aside from AI, we are still searching on social more and more and more, right? The search bar on TikTok, on Instagram, this is where people are finding restaurants and hotels and products, right? We can be optimizing our content that we put through for social media to show up for those search results, right? And make sure that we're connecting with those prospects that are looking for what we need. So when we think about search strategy as an awareness strategy, the real question here is, are we connecting with the people that are already asking the question, right? And showing up for those people as an option or as an answer or as a solution for folks that didn't even know that you existed before, right? That's search. So we've got awareness as ads or outbound. We've got search. And then last but not least, we have partnerships. And this could look like, or I like to group this under the topic of other people's audiences. We can be leveraging other people's audiences in order to be introduced to the people that already are part of those other audiences, right? Now, this could look like brand partnerships, working with influencers. This could be joining conferences or events. So when you're paying for that booth at a conference, what you're essentially paying for is just to be in the room with the audience that is coming to that conference already, right? The conference brand already has those relationships. They already have the audience and they already have that trust that those audience members for the conference are paying good money to be there, right? And so you having the ability to tap in and make connections with those folks is incredibly valuable, right? So conferences is a type of leveraging other people's audiences. But if we're looking at brand partnerships, if you're a product-based service, this could look like, having a pop-up shop somewhere with another brand. They invite their contacts, you invite your contacts, but when everyone comes together, we get to increase, that network exponentially, right? Because we're having that network effect a little bit. We're getting introduced to different groups of folks. Same concept runs for our influencers, right? We're just trying to get in front of the audience that influencer has built. So we want to be thinking in that way. If we want to build out a partnership strategy, is how can we consistently be creating these situations where we are being in company of others that already serve our right fit target client, right? And as a service-based business, right, I had mentioned the pop-up shop for products, but a service-based business, this could look like doing webinars or workshops with other businesses that are not direct competitors, but again, serve your ideal client, right? So if we know that we only really have these three options, the question then becomes, what are you doing out of these three options, right? And out of these three options, are you doing them all well, right? Is it being done well? Is it being done effectively? Now, ads, I think, are pretty easy to be looking at money in, money out. So that ROI is a little bit easier to quantify. Same with a cold outbound strategy, right? Maybe you're paying an agency to help you execute and they're responsible for booking X amount of calls or making X amount of sales. That money in, money out situation is pretty clear. And it's always consistently running, right? They don't clock in and clock out. So that's pretty clear. But as we're looking at SEO options or if we're looking at partnership options, how do we make sure that that's running consistently? And how do we know if we're getting the results that we need? So let's start with SEO. If we have a company that's running SEO for us, they're going to be able to produce reports that will be linking, the search results that they help you get in front of, and be creating certain tags and certain, UTM parameters around different links and stuff like that, that will be able to track the activity from those particular pieces of content they create, right? Or the website traffic that they help create. So SEO can also be quite straightforward, but you want to make sure that you have an expert that's working with you that can aggregate that data so you can really be understanding the results that they're yielding, okay? And this is why working with professional folks that can really get you the results is really important, especially when it comes to SEO strategy, because there's a lot of folks out there that say they do it, that they say they can get results, and maybe you'll pay them to do, one-off projects to improve, your searchability and all those things. But SEO is truly like a long-term play, and it's a long-term relationship to build with whomever is helping with the SEO. SEO has some back-end technical pieces to it, but SEO also is the front end, right? The front end, the content end, and you want to make sure that you have the right partner that can really help to create the content that's going to connect with that right fit prospect and get them to take action. So it's not something to be taken lightly. And I say that just because SEO, a lot of times for many companies that I've worked with, the attitude tends to be that it's like a throwaway thing or that it's not as important. But let me tell you, especially social search and now up and coming kind of AI search capabilities, this is something that if you sleep on, you're going to miss out, because there's going to be other companies that are going to get ahead of the game on you on this regard. And then last but not least, how do we get results out of partners? Well, the first thing that I love I do this in my own business, and I've gotten incredible results. I've gotten incredible leads. I actually, in Q1, I more than doubled my KPI for leads based on this one strategy, which is doing joint partnership workshops with different communities that serve my ideal client. So it's a wonderful way to get leads. Now, what's the problem with partnerships? The mistake I've made in the past is not taking it seriously enough and not putting strict enough KPIs. So I have a strict KPI of how many partner workshops that I have to do per month, right? And so as long as you know that you're securing those relationships, networking with the right people, and actually executing on those workshops or that pop-up shop or that influencer campaign or whatever it may be, you want to make sure you're setting a target and you're hitting those targets each and every month. That's going to build in that consistency for you. But oftentimes a lot of folks, a lot of CEOs, a lot of marketing leaders will do these like one-off partnerships, and they're kind of randomly sprinkled throughout the year. That's not going to give us that consistency that we need from the awareness phase. So the homework that I have for you today is really mapping out what are the awareness activities that you are doing for your business. And I also want you to think like, are those things being done well, right? Is my marketing team executing them well to the point where I'm getting the results that I need, right? I need a certain amount of leads to make a certain number of sales to reach my revenue goals. Is that happening, yes or no? Because if it's a no, then one of the questions you can ask yourself is that awareness working? Am I getting in front of enough people to convert the volume of leads that we actually need, right? The awareness is just that they see the thing. Next week, we're going to talk about engage, which is really where we're getting that contact information, right? And actually getting them onto our email list. That's when they're sort of an official marketing qualified lead. It's really important. But oftentimes, if you're not getting enough leads, it's simply because you're just not getting in front of enough folks. Like, people just don't know you exist, right? Awareness stage is the most important thing. It's the top, if you think of marketing as a funnel, it's the top of the funnel. It's where the most amount of people need to be coming down into your world so they can learn about you and you can solve their problems. So do a quick audit on your awareness efforts. The other thing, like to get onto the soapbox that I feel like I was on last week, episode when I'm talking about team, is do you have the right people executing these awareness strategies for you? Are you running ads with someone that truly knows how to run ads, or did you just stick like some random person on your team that watched some YouTube videos or asked AI and like figured it out themselves? There's a huge difference between DIYing, so to speak, an ad strategy or building those partner influencer partnerships and things like that and executing real campaigns. There's a difference between doing them well and doing them poorly. And if you do these things poorly, you're just simply not going to get the results, right? We have to set up these systems in our marketing, and then we need to test, iterate, improve. And the real key here is improve, right? It's not minimal viable and then we just move on to the next thing. We need to get real power, real results out of our marketing. And oftentimes that means maybe we need to move more skilled people into these critical pieces of our business, right? To make sure that we get the results that we need. The other thing I should mention is, when we talk about the $10,000 tasks that we can be doing as a CEO, as a leader, marketing leader of our business, oftentimes it's these partnerships, right? Building relationships with your network, finding those right fit partnerships. Those could mean exponential growth for your business. And so you taking the time to nurture, to make those connections and nurture those connections to open up these opportunities for your business so you can get more awareness around what you do. Again, this is a very high value task for you to be focusing on. And that all comes into the awareness phase, right? And then as this last sidebar for the awareness phase, under leveraging other people's audiences, I do want to mention that PR, like public relations, sits inside this leveraging other people's audience bucket. Because if you get a speaking opportunity, at a Forbes conference, or you make the Inc. 5000 list, something like that, we are getting in front of the Inc. audience or the Forbes audience, and then they're learning about your business and what you do, right? So spending time on those strategies are going to really make a difference for your business. And oftentimes, if you focus 100% of your time on doing these things when it comes to marketing, your business is going to grow, full stop. So think about your awareness phase. What's working? What's not working? How can you improve? And last but not least, do we have the right people on the bus to help us get the results that we need in this awareness phase? Next week, we're going to be talking all about engage. So once that new person knows about who we are and what we do, how do we get them to kind of raise their hand and say like, hey, I'm interested in what you do? We need that call out. When they raise their hand and say, I'm interested in what you do, right? Then we have a marketing qualified lead. That's what we're looking for in marketing. Now, of course, we want to get to sales qualified lead. We'll get there. But at first layer, we're just trying to see what's our marketing qualified lead, meaning who is the person that kind of fits the profile of our ideal client, and how can we indicate whether they're really kind of interested in what we do, right? When we're going towards sales qualified lead, that's like, I need this problem solved now, right? That's for a later episode. But tomorrow next week, we're going to be talking about how do we engage? How do we get that contact information so we can continue to build a relationship, kind of get them ready to buy with us? I'm going to share some really powerful strategies with you next week. So tune back in. You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for sticking around with me and listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate you as an audience member, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you did like this episode, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, if you rate and review this podcast. It helps other people know that this podcast has something worth saying. It also would be super awesome if you could take a screenshot and share on Instagram and tag me at Ugly Ventures, UGLI Ventures, VENTURES. I am always so appreciative to hear from you, and I hope to see you back here next week